Hello, it's Monday. We stream on Mondays. My name is Stuart Davis, and I'm a flawed man of God. I'm a deacon at a church just outside of Richmond, Virginia. I'm not a pastor. I'm not a biblical scholar. I haven't been to seminary. I'm not trying to get you to join my church or donate to any special cause. What I'm here to do this wonderful Monday evening is talk about Jesus, talk about God, talk about the Holy Spirit, talk about Christianity, talk about the Bible, get give you some sort of um, look into my through my eyes, a lifelong Christian. I'm non-denominational Protestant. I don't subscribe to any particular denomination or doctrine. I'm just in the Word every day, trying to live a life closer to Christ, closer to the way He wants me to be, and giving you my thoughts and feelings on things. So, if you are interested in learning more about being a Christian, learning more about God, and you've come across this stream and you find it appealing, good. Welcome to the program. I'm glad you're here. Please let this serve as a primer of some sorts that you can use to leap off into bigger and better things within Christianity with smarter people than I. But please be part of the chat if you like tuning in. Love to have you here and love to get your perspective on things. Also, if you are already a Christian and you just like hearing conversation on Christian topics, but Christian takes, welcome here. We have a great group of folks in the chat who, with the size we're at now, we treat it a lot like a Wednesday night group, small group. We, the same folks generally, night in and night out, come sifting through here. It's great to have them through. Be part of that group if you want to. If you want to just listen, that's cool too. But you are welcome and encouraged to participate. And with that said, if you like this stream, if you want to help support it, please like and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you know when I'm updating, and share it with any friends, families, or worst enemies, anybody you think would be interested in this show. Drop them a link. Maybe they'll get something out of this. Who knows? Whether they are or not, I'm just going to be here streaming. So tonight, ladies and gentlemen, tonight's a good night. Tonight is a good night. I've been talking to a lot of people. We probably won't have much activity on guests this week, but I have been discussing with a lot of folks who have had on the program before and some folks I haven't had on yet. Biggest among those is related to what we're going to be talking about tonight in the Bible. We're going to have Nick Ricada on again to talk about government in Christianity, Christian nationalism, Christian monarchy, Christian anarchy, whatever. We're going to have him on at some point. I have not ironed out the details on that. I just gave him the heads up, and he gave me the thumbs up on that. So we just need to schedule that out and make it happen. Christian Mario he has an open invite on this show at any time, but he was trying to make it on for the Friday chill stream. He wants to come back on. We will have Christian Mario back on here. I have reached out to Thaddeus Patrick to discuss some of the. In fact, he was okay. I've talked to Thaddeus Patrick, who just messaged me saying he's interested in coming back on. That's great. Which would be good. He's going to give us some insights and just some goings on and some explanations on what's going on in the Orthodoxy right now. They've got a couple of minor headlines going out there, but interesting ones. Interesting ones in the way that they've set up, as the way they set up with current events. And if you know me, I have a keen interest in the Orthodoxy just because they seem to be very close to, at least in procedure, policy and procedure, to what the early church is in comparison to other churches out there. A lot of it seems like a little bit of a wild ride, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. I appreciate and respect my respectful orthodoxy, kinfolk in Christianity, and I'm glad that Thaddeus will come onto the show. The other Paul is going to be on as soon as he gets back from his sabbatical, which will be early October. He'll be coming on at some point. And Remy Shepard with Lutheran Answers is going to be on here. And so we've got quite a cast of characters up here all across the board. And last but not least, also Megan Kay coming on, and hopefully we'll have a good conversation from her. The discussion will be, kind of trust the search to find God from somebody who doesn't necessarily have a solid established relationship with him, and getting some um, some of her thoughts and feelings on things, and maybe that's a place that some of you guys and gals find yourselves. And I think that that's a very relatable topic, and a relatable topic to other folks. I have not had this problem. I was raised in the church. I strayed from church, but I did not stray from God, in the sense that I didn't leave Christianity. I didn't blame God for much of my problems. Once I reached a certain age, I did stray in the fact that I behaved poorly, um, for a time, but it was not out of it's okay to do this. It was more just bad decision making and taking my faith for granted a little bit. That might get me to segue into bringing Megan Fox on. So I've got a pretty good list. Got a pretty good list of possible guests. Oh, hey, I forgot. Next Thursday, and Nernath is not here for this, but maybe he'll catch it on the back end. Eric Rollon will be on, and we don't know what we're going to talk about. We don't really care. Just be good to have him back on the show. So with all that out of the way, with all that front-loaded information, welcome to the program. We got Nico, Fig, and Neo. So Nico and Neo and Fig. So, some good off-topic news tonight. I am in the championship for fantasy baseball. This is the furthest I've made it in my league, and I've run it since 2014. I've never made it past the first round of the playoffs. Sometimes I've missed the playoffs altogether. This is the first I've gotten in. Fantasy hockey, I dominate. Fantasy baseball's always eluded me, and I took out the number 1 seeded guy last night because they called the Yankees game early. I had Nestor Cortez. He was pitching for the Yankees, and I needed him. I just needed a good quality start. That's a 6 innings with 3 or less runs given up, and I needed a handful of strikeouts and possibly a win, because the guy ahead of me, he had a few points ahead of me, and he had Aaron Judge, who, if you're not paying attention to baseball, is on the cusp of breaking Roger Maris's home run record, or tying it, actually. That was what everybody was waiting for. So Aaron Judge and Nick Casas, or Theo Casas, somebody Casas, on the Red Sox, and they were playing the evening game. So it was tooth and nails. Nestor Cortez came through for me. 3 strikeouts, 6 shutout innings, and got the W once they called the game. And they called the game with Aaron Judge right back up to the plate. I haven't made anybody a mod, which is weird because I've just never had to. Let's see. I need to start doing this more. I need to remember to do this. Like Neo Rice. Hey, guys. Good to be here. Anyway, so Fig's in that league, and so Fig was watching the great amount of trash talking going back and forth across all 4 players, and he was getting involved in it a little bit. So, Fig, it's been great. Hope to have you in our fantasy league next year as well. Thank you for participating in that. It was awesome. And I might do the fantasy hockey. I might, depending on what night it is and what time of day it is. I do that too. And Fig, just for your information, Chase Anderson is still pitching. So there you go. Because I know you were interested in that. All right, guys, where we left off last was very was a very interesting time. We got to really get the Indiana Jones feel of the Ark of the Covenant. The Philistines made off with it, and then let's pull up. Philistines made off with it. God started creating all sorts of chaos and confusion and just mischief, mayhem, and misinformation was going on there. And that's what God was doing. And so the Philistines finally figured out, maybe we should just get rid of this thing, right? And so instead of getting near it, they just hooked two oxen to it, or two cows, or two things on it, two beasts of burden, and said, "Let's let it go and see what happens." Can I mod you and let you post a link? Let's see how I do that. I haven't modded anybody before. I haven't modded anybody before. I think I'm against modding compared with, just because of the implication, right? Because of the implication. Let's see here. Can I do it from StreamYard? Doesn't look like I could do it here from StreamYards. Settings, guests. Nope, nope, nope. Nope, nope, nope. Let's see what I can do. Stand by, folks. I'm trying to enter the chat. Oh, you can send it to me on Twitter, and I'll post it. I'll post it in the description too. So yeah, send it to me on that. Let me know when you do that, and there we go. Then I don't have to mod you, and then we're not breaking Levitical law with that. All right, let's go. All right. Anyway, so they hook the oxen up to the Ark of the Covenant, and the oxen go straight back to Israel. And the Israelites, they're like, "Oh, great, this is great." A couple of them get too close and die, and then they get the beasts off. They sacrifice them, and they have a good time. So what do you do if you're the Israelites? What would we people think as people who believe in God, worship God, love God, or just seeking Him? Even if you are somewhat interested in God in a good way, what do you do? What do you do? You've been misbehaving, right? As an entire community, you've been misbehaving to the point that God's gone silent. He lets you get your tail whooped in a battle with the Philistines because you were stupid enough to take him out to the battle without asking, right? Without asking, just bring him out there. And he gets captured. Allows himself to be captured. And so finally, Philistines learn their lesson, send him on back. He comes back. So God's personal vehicle, right? Let's call it an avatar on Earth, has come back. His monopoly piece is back here in Israel. What do you do? But like, all right, we've messed up big time. We lost the Ark of the Covenant. This is a big deal. This is a holy relic that has been with us since the Exodus, since the beginning of the Exodus. Let's we're going to straighten up as they do, right? As they do from time to time. But will they? Will they? Will they learn? Let's find out. Let's see. Because we're in Samuel. We'll follow what Samuel does and we'll see where we go from here. But what we're going to hit tonight is a big topic that we might just touch on now. And like I said, might bring Nick on to discuss further and get some different perspectives because he and I think, are coming, might be a little bit different. We might arrive at a similar conclusion. He's very much more laissez-faire than I am with Christianity. But it starts the what I think is the path to corruption within Israel's community, not just their spiritual well-being, but now just how they live their lives. Hang on real quick. Still waiting on that tweet or that DM, buddy. Oh, never mind. You just said it. Send it. I got it. Let me get this. Discord. Boom. There you go. There you go. Discord server. Oh, I need to put it for all destinations. Let me post that again, just in case there's anybody watching from Facebook or some of the other groups. All right. So let's get to the reading. Let's get to the meat. First Samuel 7, New International Version. For those of you not familiar, I use Bible Gateway. The translation I use is New International Version. I am not a snob when it comes to, I am not an actual snob when it comes to translations. Niv is just how I've been raised. It's the one I'm most familiar with. Some people are King James onlyists. Some people like New Living Translation. Some people like whatever. So that's good, Nico. That's fine. That's fine. I just sent it in there. All right. So chapter 7. So the men of, so we're just finishing up from the Philistines and the Israelites taking the ark back. So the men of Kiriath Jearim came and took up the ark of the Lord. They brought it to Abinadab's house on the hill and consecrated Eleazar his son to guard the ark of the Lord. The ark remained at Kiriath Jearim a long time, 20 years in all, which seems kind of like a long time if you're there with it. It's not really a long time when we're talking about the biblical history of things. Must have seemed like a long time to them. Samuel subdues the Philistines in Mizpah. Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. Hey! Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. Love hearing wholesome things like that. I love people learning their lesson on things. I like learning my lesson. I especially like learning my lesson. It can be hard. I'm hard-headed. It can be difficult for me at times to get something through unless I'm really making a concerted effort. Sometimes something big happens and it just gets right through to you. We don't ever want to be like this again. There we go. Then all the people of Israel turned back to the Lord. So Samuel, who's probably in a good mood now, said to all the Israelites, if you are returning to the Lord with all of your hearts, then rid yourselves of the foreign gods and the Ashtoreths and commit yourselves to the Lord and serve him only, and he will deliver you out of the hand of the Philistines. So the Israelites put away their Baals and Ashtoreths and served the Lord only. Now, I don't know what, let's look at another translation real quick, just because there's something I see here that I'm reading. What's going on, Blaine? Glad to see you here. Let's try to see. Let's go to King James. We'll do the New King James. All right, so that says put away. Let's go to the Old King James. All right, so we're seeing in the translation that they're putting them away. What I don't like about that is it's to put away and not destroyed, not rid themselves of it. They put them away. You put something away, always leaves the temptation there. And you guys know what I'm talking about. If you ever struggle with any form of addiction, if it's drugs, if it's cigarettes, if it's alcohol, if it's porn, if it's video games, if it's whatever, right? If it's in your vicinity, the temptation will be there to bring it back. Now, some people have ridiculous willpower. There are things I have really good willpower about. But it's not a good idea, especially when it's as a community, they just put them away. Let's all let's all talk about what we know here. We know those idols are coming back. We know those false gods are going to get worshipped again. But for the time being, the Israelites put away their Baals and Ashtoreths and served the Lord only. Small W. It's a small W for the Israelites, but a big W would have been destroying. Them. Then Samuel said, "Assemble all Israel at Mizpah, and I will intercede with the Lord for you." And when they had assembled at Mizpah, they drew water and poured it out before the Lord. On that day they fasted, and there they confessed, "We have sinned against the Lord." Now Samuel was serving as leader of Israel at Mizpah. When the Philistines heard that Israel had assembled at Mizpah, the rulers of the Philistines came up to attack them, which seems dumb because, look, I take that back. They really did beat them the last time, right? They don't think that God's on his side or on their side because he didn't help them out the last time. And they let him go. They think they let him go back. If he wanted to go back, he's going back. But they think they let the ark go back. So maybe they're feeling their oats. Now, when the Philistines heard that Israel had assembled at Mizpah, the rulers of the Philistines came up to attack them. When the Israelites heard of it, they were afraid because of the Philistines. They said to Samuel, "Do not stop crying out to the Lord our God for us, that he may rescue us from the hand of the Philistines." Then Samuel took a suckling lamb and sacrificed it as a whole burnt offering to the Lord. He cried out to the Lord on Israel's behalf, and the Lord answered him. While Samuel was sacrificing the burnt offering, the Philistines drew near to engage Israel in battle. But that day the Lord thundered with a loud thunder against the Philistines and threw them into such a panic that they were routed before the Israelites. He just sent hurricane. Who is it? Who's the hurricane in right now? Going up, about getting ready to hit Florida. Starts with an I. Maybe it's Isaac. I can't remember. Anyway, so he sent a strong storm, I bet. We're talking about thunder. Thunder and lightning is intimidating. Even more intimidating back then. Especially if you're going up there with any type of metal armor. You're covered in it. The men of Israel rushed out of Mizpah and pursued the Philistines, slaughtering them along the way to a point below Bethkar. Then Samuel took a stone and set it up between Mizpah and Shen. He named it Ebenezer, saying, "Thus far the Lord has helped us." So the Philistines were subdued, and they stopped invading Israel's territory. Throughout Samuel's lifetime, the hand of the Lord was against the Philistines. It's a town from The towns from Ekroth to Gath that the Philistines had captured from Israel were restored to Israel, and Israel delivered the neighboring territory from the hands of the Philistines. And there was peace between Israel and the Amorites. Samuel continued as Israel's leader all the days of his life. From year to year, he went on a circuit from Bethel to Gilgal to Mizpah, judging Israel in all those places. But he always went back to Ramah, where his home was. And there he also held court for Israel. And he built an altar there to the Lord. Bingo, guys. There we go. Samuel, look, interceding for God, Israel learning its lesson, not doing everything they probably should. They only putting them away. Like I said, if you leave it around, it's going to come back. We obviously know that's what's going to happen because they're Israelites, right? Because they're just like us. They're just like us in that we love God and yet we forget him. And it's so easy to be the wayward child when God is not directly involved with our lives. We see that from Genesis to today. And here it comes. Chapter 8. This is a chapter that I will constantly go back to whenever people start talking about government. You can wave the American flag, and I'm a proud American. You can wave the American flag around. You can talk about constitutional republic. You can talk about a Christian nationalism. You can talk about a Christian monarchy. You can talk about all this other stuff, anarcho-capitalism, all this other stuff. You can talk about people violating the NAP. But honestly, guys, the quote's in here. The answer is in here. If you haven't already figured it out, which I think all of you are, I think you're all smart enough to. If you haven't figured it out, here it comes. Israel asks for king. When Samuel grew old, he appointed his sons as Israel's leaders. The name of his firstborn was Joel, and the name of his second was Abijah. They served at Beersheba, but his sons did not follow his ways. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. Why does this cycle keep continuing? It is so frustrating to read good men, and Samuel is not the last one. He's not the first and he's not the last one. I hate seeing great men have sons that fail them, and I wish I understood why. Is it really the power that is absolutely corrupting them? Are they raised with that power and that they just assume that it's theirs to take? How do they not know that these blessings are given by the divine? And this is why it's difficult for me to trust politicians of any stripe. These are men who were raised in the shadow of men who were uniquely blessed by God. They are made judges. They are made prophets. They are made kings in some cases. They are just men who do what's told and rise up and do great things in God's name. And yet, their sons are corrupted. So what does that mean for your general pedestrian day-to-day politician who does not necessarily believe in anybody but themselves and the system? Even the naive ones that are out there to change the world eventually get trapped by it. Drinking a lot of water because I'm pretty sure I've got a cold coming on. Temperature change, pressure change. Hay fever's about to hit me, folks. Anyway, this is a frustrating thing. I am not a great person. I am not a great man. But I am a man who has lived in many blessings in my life that I am greatly thankful for. I have 2 kids who I worry about as a parent does worry. That I just more than anything, I want their salvation more than I want mine. I would give up my place in heaven to get those 2 in. If it came down to that. I know that's not how that comes down, but that's what I want. I want those 2. I created those 2 lives. It is my responsibility to get them into heaven. That's how I view it. Because I can see the good and beauty in them right now. Ask me about that when they're teenagers. This whole thing might change. But that's my worry. And I read things about that like this. And there's a reason why. This gives me reason to worry. These men are better than me. And even they had these problems. You can't save everyone. And sometimes you can't even save the people you want most to save. And by saying me save, it's like you can't force them to accept righteousness. They turned aside after dishonest gain and accepted bribes and perverted justice. Y'all, chat's quiet tonight. I know y'all are there. Chat's real quiet tonight. I thought I was going to get a lot of interaction about this because of where we're going. So all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel at Ramah. And they said to him, "You are old, and your sons do not follow your ways. Now appoint a king to lead us, such as all the other nations have." How's it going, Dresden? But when they said, "God, give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. So he prayed to the Lord. Let's go back. This is how this happens. Samuel is a great man. Obviously, the people love him. They do not love his sons. Right? They do not love his sons. But who's going to take over when Samuel is gone? He's old, right? They know the end is coming. They know that there's somebody who needs to walk in his path, that somebody has to take up his mantle. And his sons are not the ones. So what do they want? They want a king. This is new, though. When all of a sudden you guys want a king, you've been, look, for better or for worse, up until this point with the establishment of Israel, you've had judges or somewhat loose leaders running things, but everybody else is allowed to kind of do what they want to do. Why don't you want a king? All you got to do is listen to the Levitical law. There's a bigger point here, though. But when they said, "Give us a king to lead us," this displeased Samuel. Good. So he prayed to the Lord. And the Lord told him, "Listen to all that the people are saying to you. It is not you they have rejected, but they have rejected me as their king, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are doing to you. Now listen to them, but warn them solemnly and let them know what the king who will reign over them will claim as his rights." 2 hours later, Samuel told all the words of the Lord to the people who were asking him for a king. He said, "This is what the king who will reign over you will claim as his rights. He will take your sons and make them serve with his chariots and horses, and they will run in front of his chariots. Some he will be assigned to be commanders of thousands and commanders of 50s, and others to plow his ground and reap his harvest, and still to others to make weapons of war and equipment for his chariots. He will take your daughters to be perfumers and cooks and bakers. He will take the best of your fields and vineyards and olive groves and give them to his attendants. He will take 1/10 of your grain and of your vintage and give it to his officials and attendants. Your male and female servants and the best of your cattle and donkeys he will take for his own use. He will take 1/10 of your flocks, and you yourselves will become his slaves. When that day comes, You will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. I think you guys know where I'm headed with this, right? This is, call it what you will, dictatorship, monarchy, totalitarianism. It's not what they've got right now. And the things that the things that God expects of us to give to him willingly and freely, a king is going to demand of them. And not a king that has given them the things that God has given them. And they will take more. They will take more. This is stuff that they didn't have to deal with before that. And guess what? That doesn't absolve you from having to do the things that you already have to do. This is on top of all that. Right? This is on top of all that. There are going to be levies, and his command is going to rule you. This is all the stuff on top of the fact that what he says goes, right? And instead of a eternal, benevolent, loving God who has looked out for you, even though, like he says, as they have done from the day I brought them up out of Egypt until this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, even though we've done that to him, he still is treating us like he would favored children. Even though sometimes we need a spanking, sometimes we need a timeout, sometimes we need to be in the corner. Instead of that, we have chose this. And what is this? A flawed human being who, what? Going to happen, the same thing that's happening to Samuel is going to happen to him, to the king. King's going to have kids. You have a good king. King's going to have kids that are assholes. Then who's going to rule you? And then they're going to have more. And then they're going to have more. And how do you get out of that cycle? Again, God's eternal, an eternal king, an eternal benevolent king, an eternal God that chose to have you, specifically you, Nico, you Fig, you Dresden, you Blaine, you Neo. Neo's in the chat. I think that's it. I think that's you guys who've been in the chat so far. All of you uniquely decided, made a specific, boom, you're a unique soul that has now been created. Here is your life. Here is your chance. Here is the great identity that is you, made in his image. With all the great things that come along with that. And all of the challenges and obstacles and tragedies as well. You win in the end, though. You follow the path. You seek God out. You love and cherish his word and cherish his commandments. Beg for forgiveness. Be humble before him. Those things aren't hard to do. Especially when we have the grace that we have. So much easier. Let's give it all up for a person. And you'll hear me say it when Nick comes on, we'll say it again. You want to give that up for the Bushes, the Clintons, the Kennedys? We have an aristocracy here already. Y'all want any of those folks? What's to keep that from happening even if we have a man of the people rise up as king? What's going to happen when he has kids? I don't know much about Queen Elizabeth. I don't. A lot of people liked her. Charles seems like a total idiot. He just does. He seems like a dolt. He says a lot of things that seem dumb. What are his qualifications if that was a legitimate monarchy? Like that had actual power, actual real power, governmental power. What would be his qualifications be to lead other than I was just born first. This is just stupidity behind it. But let's finish the chapter. Oh, before that. Sorry, Dresden said, sorry I'm late finishing this book just finishing Back to the Future 3. I like Back to the Future 3. Clint Eastwood. The train was a little much. Fig said, I'm not a dad, so I can't relate. A lot of things change. Try to put it into perspective. Try to put it in perspective of somebody you love deeply, right? And wanting somebody good that you love, that you know is a just good person. And maybe they are. Maybe they do have. Maybe they are a Christian. Maybe they're well on their way to making it to heaven. But the worry that they might not. I don't know. Maybe I'm unique and somewhat unique in that. Maybe I'm not. Nico said, sounds like a heavy burden to make sure someone goes to heaven. It's a heavy burden to put on yourself, and it's really a stupid one because you can't force righteousness into somebody. They either get to that on their own or not. You can help influence them as much as possible. You can help them as much as possible. You can lead the horse to water. You can't make it drink. Same thing runs with people. And each of us responds differently to encouragement. Nico said, damn, King government/government sounds grim AF. LOL. I mean, what do you see these days, right? What do you see these days? So, when that day comes, you will cry out for relief from the king you have chosen, but the Lord will not answer you in that day. This is my warning to you. When you realize you've made a big mistake, there's no going back. Whenever does government ever release power? But the people refused to listen to Samuel. No, they said, we want a king over us. Then we will be like all the other nations, with a king to lead us and to go out before us and fight our battles. I'm not going to pull out my hair legitimately right now, but that's what I feel like I want to do when I read a passage like this. How dumb is this? Are they so upset over the last time they beat the Philistines? He didn't come and help them because they were acting like little brats. Now they sound like brats, definitely. We want to be just like everybody else. Oh, all my friends do X. I should be able to do it too. Again, those of you who aren't parents might not be able to relate to that sense, but I'm pretty sure you probably use that line with your parents at one point. But so and so is allowed to do this. But you weren't. We were moving tables yesterday at church. My kids wanted to get on the tables and ride them around while we were rolling them around. So those, you all probably know, it's the lunch tables with the circular stools that you have in school that fold up. We were moving those around because we have a school at our church. We were moving those around. Kids wanted to ride on them while we were pushing them around. Some of the other kids were, and they're like, "Oh, but what was it?" It's like, no, you're not doing that. You're not getting on there. You're not going to be in the way. You're not going to fall down and hurt yourself. You're not going to do that. I know better. I know better than you. We will be like all the other nations with the king to lead us. What do you think the Ark of the Covenant is supposed to represent? Go out before us and fight our battles. What? How the hell did you get out there in the first place? Who's fighting your battles for you? Who's always fought your battles for you? Because when he doesn't fight your battles for you, you get your tail kicked by the Philistines or whoever else decides they want to plunder the promised land that was given to you guys with the covenant established that you're just going to listen to what you're told and you haven't done it. And I'm yelling at the Israelites. I might as well be yelling at myself in some of these cases. But this seems like a uniquely stupid move on behalf of an entire nation that should know better. Blaine says, I have a long story that ended with my foot in a bicycle fork and a flat on the pavement because I found the loophole in the someone else is doing it argument. All right, so I got a fun story. Here's a Stuart in Iraq story. All right. I'm wearing this today because you just reminded me of it. Al Saad Air Base in Iraq. Al Anbar province. We're on the air base, right? I was in helicopters, so we were on the night shift. So you're riding at night up to the flight line. It's a long trip. So what we all and almost all of us invested in were bicycles. So you see a lot of us riding bicycles all over the base. People all over the place riding bicycles. And they made us ride with our Kevlar helmets on, which is supposed to protect you from shrapnel, not supposed or a concussive force. It's not supposed to protect you from hitting your head on the pavement if you fell over on your bike. And these things are fit kind of well, but not super well. So they shift a little bit, right? And I'm up there and I've got my gear on. I've got my rifle with me. And I'm on my bicycle and it's dark. And we're coming in there. And it's nighttime. It's nighttime out. It's black. So we've got our flashlights on. I didn't have mine on. And we were rolling through there. I take that back. I say we. This particular night, I was all by myself. I think I was coming in early, and rolling up. Blackhawks are rolling out, are spinning up, doing their pre-flight checks. And so I'm watching, and not paying attention. Rifle shifts. I go to just move it back, look back down, look up. There's a concrete barrier right in front of me that I didn't see because I'd kind of veered off the road a little bit. And I see it just at the last second. So I put my feet down and I don't know how it happened. The front end of the bike, the front tire of the bike hits the concrete barrier. And I'm going at a decent clip. Hits the front barrier and spins under. The handlebars go right in between my legs. And it just flies back. Just a couple feet. It wasn't cartoonish, but it went flying back there. And I went chest first into the barrier, just like, oof, and I almost tipped all the way over. I didn't. It was kind of an embarrassing moment. Could have been a lot worse. I could have really messed myself up. But I got over, got on my bike, started riding it around. We had been told, make sure you use your lights out there because it's a little treacherous. And so I looked around and I was like, whew, man. And so I made my way back to the clamshell over on the flight line. And the whole rest of the ride, the bike was steering funny. The whole thing was just a funny ride. I was like, what did I do to this thing? And I came in and I looked at it. I was like, I don't see anything wrong with it. And then I looked at it next to another bike and the whole fork, which was like this, was now almost straight up and down. The whole fork had been bent back straight. And so the steering was all messed up. And so I was like, oh man, I can't believe I did that. And I was like, man, good thing nobody saw it. Well, what do we do in aircraft at night to make sure we see where we're going? Night vision goggles. The first or second aircraft, I can't remember, in the chalk. Everybody in the thing just saw it because they saw some movement. Say, hey, I wonder who that is. And they all looked and saw the whole thing happen. So when they came back, they asked me how my trip was. Blaine says, during family camping, my cousin was riding on eldest cousin's handlebars while he rode. My dad said, I don't want to catch you riding on those handlebars. It sounds like my dad saying, don't ride in the back of a pickup truck. And I did it anyway. He forgot there's a lot more than handlebars to ride on a bike. And to explain that kid, bike brakes aren't built for 3 kids worth of weight. They're not. And depending on how long that bike's been driven, it might not even have brakes on it enough for 1 kid. No, I like where this is headed. We're going to end after this story. I'll wrap things up. Waiting on Blaine to finish his story. I hope he's typing faster because we're all waiting on you, Blaine. No guess this week. Maybe Megan K was supposed to be sending me some stuff to look through, and we were going to do this. Blaine typing walls of text. I guess I'm assuming he goes. We were on top of a hill, so that's what happened. Oh, okay. So I'm assuming right now what happened was how did you get your foot in the fork if you're on the I'm assuming you were on the back. Okay, hang on. Oh no. Cousin said, "Come on, let's ride down." I said, "I can't ride on the handlebars." So my cousin suggested the frame between the handles and the seat. At least that's how that happens. So oldest in the seat steering, then middle on the handlebars, and me on the frame. As we went down, we heard a car coming up the hill. Oldest hit the brakes, and they didn't do anything because they won't. Y'all got momentum. Y'all got mass and momentum, and not enough friction. Middle and the handlebars started chapping the tire with their shoes. Looked like a good idea. So you did it too. You put your foot in there and it sucked it in that fork, I bet. Woo-wee. So I tried to pinch the tire with my feet and it sucked my foot into the fork. Yup. Hey, it did the job, didn't it? You stopped immediately. Who was in the car? Was it anyone of consequence? Was it your dad? Then flipped. Ooh, endo. Middle cousin jumped off the handlebars. Me and oldest crashed. I think I understand today why Blaine's escape corner is the way he is. Permanent brain damage. This is just a similar symptom. Then they got my uncle to help. Help you what? Get up? My uncle has a heart bigger than his brain. I like that saying. A heart bigger than his brain and couldn't undo my double knot seekers. Oh, he cut the shoe off? Now there was no car. Y'all just heard a car. Oh, how'd you lose? How'd you lose your shoes, son? Oh, oh no, he didn't say a thing. Did you get caught? Or did he just know? That's kind of how my brother is. He lets you stew in being wrong. He doesn't gloat. He doesn't tell you I told you so. He doesn't do anything. He lets you stew in your failure, your embarrassment, any of that stuff. He just lets you sit in that. I've got an uncle, all right, not the most polite fellow on the planet. He's a big Redskins, Washington Redskins fan. My brother is a Cowboys fan. When they play, my uncle will say the most crass, uncalled for, rude things to my brother to rile him up because he hates the Cowboys. My brother doesn't really say anything. And when the Redskins win, man, he is all over my brother. Like, just like I said, it's obnoxious. Cowboys win, he doesn't say a thing. He doesn't need to because my uncle's temper will get the better of him. And it has. There you go. Blaine said, my dad didn't say a thing. I would have rather been beat. He just stared. The joke growing up was that my cousins and I share a brain when we were together. Luckily, I get to keep it when we are on our own. Son, dude. Okay, my brain. You were okay with coming on. That's what you want. We wanted me to send you a link so you could talk it out. I'm sorry, Blaine. That's dumb of me. And yeah, there was a lot of dead air on that one. Yeah, next time just say, hey, link me in to the I was wondering what you meant when you said that. I didn't know you were set up either. I mean, I figured you probably would. Everybody check out Blaine's show if you like anime. If you don't, maybe don't. All right. So let's thanks for putting that out there, Blaine. Thanks for typing that at my expense. Because now I look like the idiot. Anyway. When Samuel heard all that the people had said, he repeated it before the Lord. And the Lord answered, listen to them and give them a king. Then Samuel said to the Israelites, everyone go back to your own town. Lots of thoughts on this, giving you just a fraction of them. But I mean, political conversations can get wild and out of hand. Let's talk politics. No, not tonight. We're almost an hour in, which is good. I need to go out. And get myself some fruit sherbet. Been jonesing for some. Anyway, Blaine said that's my secret. I'm always 2 minutes from being set up. I'm probably about 2 minutes ish, 2 to 3 minutes ish from being set up. Just because I also do Teams meetings and everything as well. So I've always got my stuff pretty well at hand. I don't have a sophisticated setup. I have this camera, I have this microphone, I have that computer, and that's pretty much in it. But in the monitors. So anyway, folks, no, I may have a guest this week. I may not. We'll see how that all shakes out. I thought I was going to have one tomorrow or Wednesday, maybe, but like I said, I haven't seen the stuff yet. But whatever. No, it's code name for fruity ice cream. Like generally I like a good like peanut butter ice cream, peanut butter chocolate mix ice cream, sundae with hot fudge. I am an ice cream. Look, ice cream's my weakness. Sherbet's like the same. It's just right in there. I like good cold or / frozen desserts. They're good. Nico, the brain damage was a different event in my childhood. It's probably called Pokemon. All right, guys. I've got a lot of catching up to do on my stream viewing, and you guys have been relatively quiet as a group. Ooh, got thrown into a wall as a baby. You don't appear brain damaged to me, but like purposefully or on accident. You know what? You don't have to answer that, obviously. We can share childhood trauma stories on a later time. If you've ever got Blaine, if you're ready for setup, I don't mind bringing you on stream either. So you're all right. Oh, playing nothing malicious. Yeah, I've got a concussion story like that. Dresden says sorry enough for not talking for too much. I just tired. I'm just tired. I get it. Hey, Dresden, you don't have to comment. I just like I said, sometimes the chat's talkative and active, and sometimes they're not. And when you're not, sometimes I wonder if how much you're listening. That doesn't mean I need you to do it. It's just that's my own hang up. You get out of this stream what you want to. Okay. I'm gonna put out what I want, put out on the stream what I think is best. So, and yes, Dresden, you need to go to bed. So with that same, no, Fig, we'll do it later. We'll do it later. All right. Dresden, Nico, Fig, Blaine, and going all back there at the beginning, Neo. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for sharing your thoughts. Thanks for stopping by and saying hi. Thanks for getting out of this show, whatever you want. I love the fact that you guys are participating. I love in whatever capacity, whether it's just lending me your ears or lending me your thoughts. Does not matter. Thank you for being here. Thank you for tuning in. Have a very good night, everybody. Plan is to be here at 8 o'clock tomorrow. Good night, and God bless.